Hello and happy Tuesday to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm meteorologist Leah Pizzetti, and this is Weather Out West, the hour-long show where we walk you through what's happening weather-wise across the western United States. We'll have the latest forecast from the Pacific Northwest to the Mountain West, and California to Arizona in the Southwest. We start today in Arizona, where summer-like temperatures are extreme. We are in the middle of a heat wave down to the southwest. Let's get to our meteorologist in Phoenix with a look at the heat.
I'm meteorologist Crystal Long in Phoenix. Hang in there. We're day 5 of 8 under this extensive and expansive extreme heat warning. It's really a rarity to get in on an extreme heat spell as long as this one. In fact, it ranks number 4th longest at 8 days. You can see we, on a number of occasions, had a stretch of 9 days. A few years, we even pulled off 10 days, and the record top spot belongs to 2023. 29 back-to-back days under an extreme heat warning. Well, even if you're outside of the extreme heat warning, you're not spared the above average temperatures. We're dialing up the degrees all across Arizona, anywhere from a few to as much as 10 extra degrees on top of your typical temperature trends this time of year. Tucson's on the verge of cracking 110 today. We're going to be 110 plus from Casa Grande to Phoenix, Yuma, straight up to Bullhead City, triple digits from Kingman over to Sedona and Globe and Winslow. Page about to pop the century mark this afternoon. Even Flagstaff looking at those above average temperatures in the high end 80s. We've got a mixture of some sun and clouds going on today. Clouds probably won't phase us much. We're still calling for 114 in the valley, and that's as advertised, an extra 8 above average. And look at that, just 2 degrees down from the 2023 record. Records are not safe the next 2 days. We're just going to blow past them. 117 and 118 are your forecasts for your Wednesday and Thursday. And you can see it's easily going to knock out that 2023 record and the 2012 record as well. We've really seen in recent years an expansion of our 110 season. So that summer sizzle, it just stretches longer and longer. Looking back at the average from 1961 to 1990, it was kind of a 65-day stretch where in that window we would crack 110. But now our window is more like 85 days in just the last several years. Monsoon, please get your act together. This would really help us out. We're seeing very slim on our storm chances courtesy of monsoon today, and it's really going to stay exclusive to eastern Arizona. And we've got some big fire threats out there with these storms too. You think, oh, rain's going to be a benefit, but instead we have the other hazards, the gusty winds and potential dry lightning that could spark. Let me show you what this will look like on Futurecast. See all those clouds that will get caught up in our sky? Well, we will see some green along the eastern edges, but there's also that threat to trigger the lightning and the gusty winds. Another flare-up of some monsoon showers and storms, really wimpy though on your Wednesday, and even some more clouds kicked into the valley, but it looks like we're staying dry here in the valley, and then we continue to see the clouds just swirl right in. So Flagstaff, we're keeping your storm chances pretty small here, on the order of 20 to 30% chance through early next week. We do spike on Thursday, popping 90 degrees in the Pines, but then we do allow those degrees to fall off early next week. For the valley, the next 4 days still under that extreme heat warning, and so we've got that 12 news weather impact alert slapped on top of that. I know it's the afternoon numbers that really get your eyeballs bugging out and your jaws dropping here, especially with those record-setting highs here. But also notice your lows. We've got some really warm wake-up calls in the 90s. We will simmer down over the weekend, and we kind of just kick it into cruise control going into early next week. I mean, even though that's improvement on the thermometer, that's still above average.
Thank you, Crystal. Hopefully everybody in Arizona finds ways to stay cool. And let's now head to Denver, where temperatures are well above average as well. Our meteorologists on the ground in Colorado are tracking the heat there as well.
And on this Tuesday, the story once again, the sizzling heat for us across the state of Colorado. In the Denver area, well, it's hot and dry again, and get used to it. Again, this heat ain't going anywhere. These temperatures that you're looking at here across Colorado running about 5 degrees above average for the first week of August in Denver, topping out at 97 on Monday, 98 on Tuesday, and some 100s for us on the eastern plains, a lot of 80s for us in the high country. Again, pretty much everything you're looking at close to about 10 degrees above average. Now, ridge of high pressure continues to push its way in our direction. That will really maximize here on Tuesday. The result is that on Tuesday and Wednesday, this area of high pressure hangs out overhead. We're going to get an extra bit of sinking to the air mass. That will continue to spike those temperatures and keep us on the hotter side of usual. So west of the Continental Divide, we have a fire weather warning for us between 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. It'll be blustery. It'll also be on the hot side. So we also know with all the wildfires that continue to burn across the western slope, please be smart with anything with a spark outdoors. Of course, on a day like this, just be smart out here west of the Continental Divide. Extra important when it's blustery as well. Meantime, in the Denver area on Monday, a lot of you noticed on that wildfire smoke. We'll see that again here with that combination of smoke and haze. This is mostly due to fires here on the western slope, but there's also a bit of a component of these fires here in Utah and Arizona contributing to some of that smoke as well. So it's going to be smoky, hazy, hot, and dry basically all week long. If you're looking for when we get some relief, it comes on Saturday and Sunday. Wednesday and Thursday, though, potential weather impact alerts because of the high heat. Those overnight lows only dropping into the mid-60s. So point being here, folks, it's hot and dry all week long in Denver with our next meaningful chance for rain and a notable cool down for Saturday and Sunday.
No question, the big weather story this week is the heat. We are talking about a 5-day stretch of temperatures 97 degrees or hotter. That is very unusual for Denver, very abnormal. And again, we're looking at temperatures 98 degrees both today, tomorrow, 99 on Thursday, 98 on Friday. So temperatures very warm. We are talking about a heat wave. So far this year, we have had 33 days in the 90s. The 30-year average is 46 days. Of those 33 days, 9 of them happened in June. 22 of them happened in July and 2 so far in August. So 90-degree days or hotter in Denver. The total for 2025, 33 once again. The average is 46 once again. Last year, we had 64 days in the 90s. The record, 75 days in the 90s. That was set back in 2020. So again, the average number of 90-degree days per year, 46. Now the average number of 90-plus degree days per year is 16, and the average number of 100-degree day plus years is, the average 100-degree plus days per year is 2. Now, we did reach one back in July 9th, I believe, we reached a high temperature of 100 degrees. Will we make 2? Well, we could this week, and the outlook for temperatures is looking like we could in August, because August is trending hotter than average.
Still ahead after the break, we will head west to California, where both Northern and Southern California are tracking the heat. Details ahead. Welcome back. We hit the heat in Arizona, Colorado. High pressure over those states is also impacting temperatures in Southern California. That's causing heat concerns in San Diego County as well. Meteorologist Vanessa Paz is in San Diego with the latest.
Well, happy Tuesday from San Diego, California. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. Here's what it looked like earlier from our Hotel Del Skycam. If you visited San Diego, you probably have visited the island of Coronado and maybe took a visit as well or a tour to Hotel Del. Nothing but sunshine to start off our Tuesday. And today's sort of our transition day into a warming pattern that is going to take over the second half of the week. We're talking about extreme heat for some portions of our interior parts of the county. All right, here are your weather headlines as we get the Tuesday going here in San Diego County. An inland heat wave for the second half of the week. We do have warnings and advisories pertinent to the warm up we're expecting, specifically for the valley areas that got added yesterday. And then by the end of the week, we'll also be under a heat warning, excessive heat warning for the mountains as well as the desert areas. We do have a slight drop in temperatures, but it won't really be noticeable until we get to the weekend. As we take a look at the watches, warnings, and advisories, everyone, with the exception of the coastal communities, will either be under a heat advisory or an extreme heat warning starting on Wednesday. Now, it is set to expire Friday, but depending on how warm it gets and how long that heat sticks around, it could determine on if these advisories and warnings get extended. As of right now, they are set to end Friday night. We are expecting 90s for interior parts of the county, and extreme heat. Those numbers will climb close to 115 for our desert areas in the coming days. All right, here, as I mentioned, today is sort of like a transition day into that warming pattern. Today will be a little cooler than what we're expecting starting Wednesday. Today's highs forecasting mostly 70s. Will be in the high 70s for those warmer spots along the coast, including Oceanside as well as downtown San Diego. As we push a little closer to the inland valleys, more closer to that 90-degree mark for spots like Escondido as well as Poway. We'll hit the 90s easily for neighborhoods like Ramona, close to 90 for Julian, and we'll be near 110 in Borrego Springs. Here's what I'm forecasting for lows tonight. It will be rather mild along the coastal communities, down to the high 60s, a little cooler by a few degrees for the inland valleys, pushing in the high 60s later on tonight for spots like Julian, and we'll hit overnight lows, not too cool. In fact, we'll be warm, close to 80 degrees once we get to the 2-3 o'clock a.m. hours. All right, big picture, there's that ridge of high pressure sitting over the desert southwest. It's going to pushing a little more westward, strengthening and increasing offshore flow. So it'll cut that marine layer off just a tiny bit, especially for the inland valleys. Here's what I have for tomorrow's highs versus where we should be for this time of the year. Notice how daytime highs are going to be anywhere between 5 to 10 degrees warmer than where we should be in comparison to our 30-year normal. I'm forecasting 80s for the coastal area. So we can say goodbye to the 70s. Some areas will actually struggle to get out of or get into the 80s, but those warmer spots like Oceanside as well as downtown San Diego will likely climb to the low 80s starting Wednesday. All right, so here's a recap of what we're talking about. Wednesday to Friday will be some of the hottest days, mainly for interior parts of the county. And they don't put out these advisories and warnings for no reason. You want to make sure that you're being mindful when it comes to those outdoor activities. And also the fire weather threat is going to be elevated in the coming days. Remember, we are in a deficit when it comes to our water year numbers. So the vegetation, the ground still really dry and susceptible to fire danger, especially with these warmer conditions. The inland areas highlighted in the red, these will be the warmest days Wednesday through Friday, and then we'll shave off a few degrees come the weekend. That's when we're back in the 80s. For the mountain areas, going to be really hot, close to that century degree mark, looking ahead to Thursday and Friday, and then we're in the low 90s starting this weekend for the mountain communities. The desert areas, extreme heat starting tomorrow. Those daytime highs will climb close to 115.
Thanks, Vanessa. Heading north, heat is also a concern in Northern California, where triple-digit temperatures are inching back into Sacramento County. Let's get to meteorologist Rob Karlmark, who's tracking the heat in Northern California.
Hello, I'm meteorologist Rob Karlmark in Northern California with a nice little series of headlines here that sort of plays out our weather over the next day or so. Now, we've got a lot of different microclimates, as I've mentioned many times, but we'll do it one more time here. We've got some early morning fog and then afternoon sun. That's the way that it goes with our cold Pacific Ocean, where the water temperatures are in the mid to upper 50s. It's always cold, and so that allows the mechanism to get fog and low clouds in the morning. Then the sun starts to heat things up. It disperses, we call it burning off, and then we get ready to do it again. So that's the way things are going to play out on this Tuesday. For the valley spots, we're going to be close to our averages. For the foothills, sunny conditions, and for the Sierra, we're going to be dry. We've been plagued with daily threats of showers, thunderstorms, hail, lightning, all elevation based, higher elevations. That was all last week. Now we moved into a dry forecast, and that's going to be the case for a while. I just have to reflect on July for one more second. For our Northern California locations, it's been exceptionally cool considering not only the month of July, but compared to last July where we had 16 triple-digit days, we only had one last month, and we've been more or less in line with a pretty solid August so far. We've had some average days, even some below average days. Today would be considered a below average day of 90 degrees because we're usually right around 93. So we like where we've been going, but starting Wednesday and beyond, for most valley locations, we're going to be mid-upper 90s, and that is definitely going to be above average as hot weather is coming back to us. We just haven't seen it for a while. One thing worth paying attention to as well is while we have beautiful Lake Tahoe, quite often this time of the year, there's some element of smoke and haze because of a series of fires that are happening somewhere. Once smoke gets in the air, aloft, it takes a while for it to move along. We have had a number of fires, obviously, this year in acres burned. It's been above average, but a lot of that action's been central and southern California, including the Los Padres National Forest, which is right over here near Santa Barbara and Big Sur area. You could see, though, distinctly, we don't have a lot of smoke and haze for Northern California. I'm sure across the country, many people have been talking about the Canadian wildfire smoke and haze that's been moving through major metro areas, or even in the Southwest, the fire in northern Arizona, also some in Colorado. But at least for once, you could see here our skies have been clear. So it has been relatively nice all across the region. Now, moving forward here, our Tuesday temperatures will slowly filter in, but what we're looking at here is mountain showers and thunderstorms. We've got Sonora, which is a nice foothill community, 89 degrees. We are looking at the possibility very late in the day for a few random showers and thunderstorms, mostly central and southern Sierra. We've got Big Sur at 81 degrees, Gilroy 84. Beautiful conditions right along the immediate coast with temperatures in the 60s. The reason why, like I mentioned right off the top, cold Pacific Ocean. The closer you are to that, it modifies the air, and that's where our cooler temperatures are. Once you move away from that, a mountain range or two over, you're going to start to see the temperatures rise. We've got solid warm to hot conditions all across the inland areas. Chico 92, Redding 96, Shasta at 84, higher up in elevation. That's why you're seeing that temperature difference. Right along the valley floor, lots of sunshine. And like I mentioned, temperatures will be in the low 90s, which is a little bit below average for this time of year. The metro area for Sacramento, some places that don't get an evening wind, we call the delta breeze because the wind blows from the ocean across the delta, which is where the rivers converge and then go out to sea. That area is going to be cooler than the farther you get away from those locations. So overall, we're going to be watching temperatures move on up into the mid-90s, into the upper 90s, with some locations reaching triple digits, but just for a couple of days, then widespread cooling as we move into next week.
Thank you, Rob. Still ahead after the break, it is a much different setup in the Pacific Northwest where rain is moving in. We'll track the rain in Washington and Oregon next. Welcome back. While most of the Southwest is dealing with that extreme heat, the Northwest has a much different forecast. This is typically the time of the year that brings the driest conditions, but as meteorologist Rod Hill shows us, that will change in the next day, especially in Oregon.
From a beautiful, sunny Rose City, I'm meteorologist Rod Hill. We have a great day down here in Portland. We're going to have more sunshine pretty much statewide to some degree than we've been seeing. And at least for Portland, Salem, and Vancouver here in the Willamette Valley, it's going to allow temperatures to warm up. We've been in the 70s. It was only 73 yesterday. Today, I have us getting up to 80 degrees. And with that sunny forecast, there is no storm threat across eastern Oregon or central Oregon today. So no concerns there, no red flag warnings for fire danger. Everybody will be enjoying some sunshine with temperatures that will be in the 80s, not 90s. So just a lovely, lovely day. Now, we have something coming in that we don't often get this time of the year. Statistically, we're still right in the middle of the driest time of the year here in Portland. And any rain we do get in August, more often than not, comes from convection, comes from scattered thunderstorms. But this time around, we actually have a Pacific front coming in overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. like we would have in the rainy season. It's going to bring us some rain. So let's see what Futurecast shows. This is 5 o'clock this afternoon. It shows increasing cloudiness along our coast and eventually this evening into Portland. And then coming in first thing tomorrow morning, this is 5 a.m., here's that front and a wave of rain coming in. So if this were exactly correct, there would be hours of rain into the 5 a.m. hour that would be fairly steady from Tillamook, Astoria, Longview, and maybe just clipping Portland. And then as we go more into the morning hours, the rain extends down through Newport, and then we get some scattered showers in Salem and Eugene. There's certainly going to be, I think, more rain, and most models support this from near Portland to the north and less to the south. This is 8:30 in the morning, and then by the time we get to 10 o'clock, we're kind of in the last hour of most of the rain we're going to get. And then tomorrow afternoon goes on to see a scattered shower threat where you see the green, but very limited precipitation. So almost everything we get here in Portland is going to come in early Wednesday morning through mid-morning. That's right during the morning commute, so we have a KGW impact alert for folks to be aware that the morning commute hours might be a little dicey and slower because of the wet roads. We're back to completely dry weather on Thursday. Rain potential, most models are in this wheelhouse in terms of these numbers. Don't try to pick out the individual city because the modeling isn't that good. Pick out the range. So like from Salem up into Kelso and Portland, anywhere from like 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of rain, and maybe more than 1/4 to more than 3/10 of an inch of rain along the coast. Rain up into Mount Hood and rain out through the Columbia River Gorge as well. So that's what we're tracking. Back to today, which is beautiful during the daytime hours. Snookwinds Casino Resort in Lincoln City. This was during the morning hours. It's beautiful, beautiful sunshine. There's looking off of the east flank of Mount Hood, and temperatures have been warmer up there. It was in the low 40s yesterday. Today we've been running warmer, and that's a sign this air mass is ready to warm up somewhat. Again, that's our Timberline camera. And there's a look over the top of Pioneer Courthouse in downtown Portland in the square from our Pioneer Park building camera of the beautiful sunshine. We're in the 60s out the door. Temperatures today, 80, 83 in Salem, Corvallis, McMinnville. Light winds, partly to mostly sunny skies. The evening clouds. Similar numbers up in southwest Washington, Battleground, Vancouver, and Clark County getting up to 80 degrees. I mentioned no 90s today, so everybody's really comfortable. Central and eastern areas, low to mid 80s. And then the 60s at the coast with the clouds coming in later. So we have two KGW weather impact alerts. Today, beautiful, 80. Tomorrow, the impact alert for the morning hours. The thought is the rain could mess with the commute, so plan your day accordingly. Give yourself some extra time. All dry Thursday, 80s on Friday and Saturday, and what could be the first heat stretch. It goes 3 to 4 days and gets up to about 100 degrees. We have an impact alert for a potential 101 on Monday.
Thanks, Rod. It's a similar pattern in Washington, a region that has been bone dry for the last 6 weeks. In fact, the Seattle-Tacoma Airport has only recorded 1/100th of an inch of rain since the end of June. But that rain that's moving into Portland is also heading into western Washington, as you just heard Rod discuss. Here's a look at your Seattle forecast. And happy Tuesday to you. Here is an extended check of our forecast for western Washington. The start of our Tuesday did bring some morning clouds. Here's a loop from Shoreline on this Tuesday morning showing that we did see some clouds passing through, but those clouds will dissipate into our early afternoon hours before rebuilding again into our Tuesday evening. So for the next couple of days, it's an interesting mix of ingredients for the forecast. We're going to see clouds increasing into our Tuesday evening, and eventually we'll see showers that move into western Washington Tuesday night, overnight. But a lot of that rain is going to be falling overnight, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, making for a slick commute Wednesday morning, especially when we think about how long it's been since we've seen significant measurable rain. We do have slick roadways that are expected. A lot of oil has built up on the road. So just a good thing to keep in mind for any Wednesday morning drivers. You'll want to give yourself some extra time. As we head into the weekend, we'll bring back the sunshine, we'll clear skies, we'll warm temperatures. We're back in the 80s by the weekend. So it's a little bit of something for everybody. Let's talk about normal. So normal temperatures this time of the year are right around 79 degrees, a high of 79 and a low of 58 degrees at the airport at SEA. Yesterday, so Monday, we hit 71. So our daytime highs were much cooler than normal. Overnight lows, though, right on track with average. We'll keep temperatures cooler than normal until the weekend. It's not until the weekend that we'll bring back those 80s and warm things to above average. Let's also talk about rain. Obviously, August is young. It's still early in the month. So when we look at our month-to-date rain totals, it's pretty normal to see nothing this early in the month. But we've seen a very dry summer. So our calendar year departure from normal is about 6.5 inches. So when we talk about those rain chances moving in tonight, I don't expect us to solve all of our calendar year problems with 1 week disturbance. But hey, we'll make a dent in that. And we have some much needed rain that is heading our way. So for your Tuesday afternoon and evening, we'll have really pleasant conditions in the early afternoon. But then we're going to see clouds build into the evening. Tuesday evening, clouds become dense in time for that evening commute home in western Washington. This says Seattle, but this is true for just about everybody around the Sound. Clouds will stay dense into the night. Highs for Tuesday will be mild. So up to the north, Skagit, Whatcom counties, we're looking at temperatures in the low to mid 70s. Our San Juan Islands are looking at upper 60s for your Tuesday highs. Island County right around that 70-degree marker. Most of Snohomish County in those mid 70s for today. 70s, same thing, mid to upper 70s around King and Kitsap counties. Heading farther south, also looking at upper 70s. These are some of our warmest spots, and even there, Puyallup could hit that 80-degree threshold, but we're barely scraping that out. Mid to upper 70s as we head farther south as well, and then over along the coast, it is a lot cooler. We'll introduce showers first for our coastal communities with highs in the 60s for the day. Let's track that rain. Here's a look at this afternoon right around 3 p.m. We're starting to introduce some showers along the coast. Those will push in 11 p.m. tonight. We haven't really made it to Puget Sound, but into our morning hours, this is 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's when that rain becomes widespread, heaviest along the coast. It'll then push east of Puget Sound Wednesday morning. This is 11 a.m. here. Leaves behind some spotty showers Wednesday afternoon. Same thing into Thursday morning. A little bit of a convergence zone sets up, and then we'll see conditions drying out Thursday afternoon and beyond. Accumulations are expected to be anywhere from a couple tenths to up to half an inch of rain. Highest totals up to the north and down to the south along the coast as well. And you know what? We need this rain. The last time we saw measurable rain at the airport was 1/100th of an inch of rain on July 25th. A month before that was the time we saw accumulating rain. Prior to that, that was 7/100ths of an inch of rain on June 26th. And keep in mind, we usually see more than half an inch of rain at the airport in the month of July. So yes, even though it's only a little bit of rain, we definitely need it, especially when we talk about wildfire smoke. It'll help clear out that haze. We'll see conditions warming back up into the low to mid 80s as we head into the weekend. Still ahead after the break, some of those showers from Portland and Seattle could sneak into eastern Washington as well. We'll track the forecast for Spokane and Boise as well coming up. Welcome back. Eastern Washington does not always get to tap into rain from western Washington because the Cascade Mountain Range, which divides the state smack dab down the middle, sucks up a lot of the moisture. But that's not the case this week. This next round of rain does bring the potential for showers to inch into Spokane and eastern Washington the next day or two. Let's check in on the forecast in Spokane.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington, enjoying actually some pretty normal August weather here with very pleasant conditions for the first half of this week. Today, though, a little bit of high cloud cover, some cirrus clouds way up in the sky, just drifting past, but not going to stop the heat for today. So very pleasant for eastern Washington and northern Idaho for this afternoon before we get to our next chances for rain for the mid part of this week. Nothing tremendous, no washouts, but a few scattered showers just to keep us honest and even a little bit cooler for a couple days ahead of us. us. The averages are still at their maximums at 87 degrees for Spokane, and today we're pretty close to that at 83. That would actually be just a pinch warmer than it was yesterday, but we'll call that a near average August day here. And even with that high cloud cover overhead, again at about 25,000 to 30,000 feet in the sky, the sun is actually still cutting through that. So I would still call this a mostly sunny day, even if the official observations at the moment would actually say mostly cloudy, since those cirrus clouds are actually pretty numerous in the skies at the moment. But that clears up later this afternoon. There you go, about 83 for both Spokane and Coeur d'Alene, 82 degrees on the Palouse in Pullman as well. So a very pleasant but very average and typical August day. But as we move forward, we'll start to track some rain chances. Yesterday's storm that went through Idaho, now over Montana and thinning out. Pretty quiet across the Pacific Northwest quadrant. It's actually our next storm system to the north. That's over kind of the southern tip of Alaska. This low pressure area will start to push into British Columbia and the Northwest from here. This whole trough in the jet stream will also cool us off. So temperatures actually take about a 10-degree dip between today and then tomorrow on Wednesday. So highs are expected in the 70s, and the low pressure center actually brings a bit of that moisture and rainfall to the area. So that was Wednesday, and then this is Thursday. And with that low pressure center at its closest approach on Thursday, that's when the rain chances will be at their highest. However, it is looking only scattered at best. Nothing widespread for eastern Washington, not enough to put a dent in any kind of drought situation either. Just a bit of rain to help, but probably could use a little bit more than even what we're forecasting at the moment. Like I said, the rain chances are scattered. Because of that, the percentages are only about 30 to 50%. And I really won't go higher than 50% unless I see anything that's looking more widespread than what the forecasted models and simulations are at. So 50% seems like a coin flip. I will say this, we are 100% confident that it is going to rain for some of the area, but it probably only hits about half, or 50% of the region, whereas the other half is going to dodge those scattered showers. So that's where the 50% probability and percentage comes from for this upcoming Thursday. So again, some areas get rain, others will dodge it. As for the temperature trend, yes, it gets cooler for midweek, as I mentioned, but we rebound very quickly as well. As the mid-August outlook, this would be from about the 10th to the 14th of the month, starts to trend actually well above average, especially for Washington and Oregon. The heat really builds back in for this weekend. Remember, the average high is still 87, so pretty average for Saturday, but we're back into the 90s by this Sunday. So sunny, hotter by then, and it looks like early next week, another decently hot stretch of weather. So while this week is a little bit cooler than average, even at 73 on Wednesday, more than 10 degrees below average, we rocket right back up into the 90s for early next week. So that heat will be back around the corner by then. We're just keeping an eye on those scattered shower chances for Wednesday and Thursday.
Thank you, Thomas. Up next, Boise will not be tapping into that moisture, but instead will feel the heat. Hector Mendoza has the details.
Hello everyone, my name is Hector Mendoza, forecasting out here in Boise, Idaho. I did want to take a look at the beautiful sunset that was out in Star. Just look at this amazing view. It looks like it's a snapshot picture of the Lion King of that start of the movie as that sun's making its way on down and we see all those reddish and orange hues coming in on that sky late last night before that sun started to set. But again, not everyone saw these conditions as they were pretty dry here in areas in the Treasure Valley. But as we take a look at other spots, we did have some storms that rolled along. This is out in Payette. We had lightning, hail, rain, all those thunderstorm activity. That's what was happening in some spots as that rolled through and through the afternoon and into the evening yesterday, as you can see in this video. But after all of that, especially as you went through places in the West Central Mountains, there was a beautiful image that was painted out in McCall. And here it is right here, this double rainbow posted by Rebecca Riley on our Idaho Weather Watchers Facebook page. And that's pretty much where we've gotten most of our photos from. But this was just a beautiful photo there of the aftermath of some some of those storms that made their way on out. This is looking at the West Central Mountains, specifically out in McCall. But again, as we take a look at what we saw, at least in through yesterday, that system has made its way on out through the east. And what's left behind is much drier conditions behind most of that system. And we're anticipating things to really start to warm up. And all of that is due to a ridge of high pressure that's going to start to amplify at least into our area just a bit through the rest of this afternoon and into tomorrow, as we have the peak of a warming trend for Wednesday. But then very quickly we see another system that makes its way on through Wednesday, brings along a cold front late Wednesday night into Thursday, and that's what's going to start to drop our temperatures back. And we're expecting to stick around maybe 10 degrees below average here in many spots in southwest Idaho as we continue on through the day tomorrow. But just looking at some of the temperature contours, we are going to see these sort of darker colors make their way through, showing the warmer temperatures for Wednesday. Then we see that system make its way on through, bringing along that cold front that brings us those cooler temperatures. That continues on into Friday, and then we have another high pressure system that builds on again into the weekend. But we do anticipate some of those breezier conditions with this system for Thursday afternoon, Friday, and even into Saturday before those winds start to just come down just a bit as we head on into Sunday. Now, as we look at the next 5 days, we are going to see sort of an up and down trend that we've been seeing the past maybe week or so here in the Treasure Valley, as we're back down into the low 80s there for Friday, and then we climb back up into the low 90s as we anticipate there for Wednesday to continue on into Sunday. And we're expecting warmer temperatures to come along as we get on into early next week. But for today, we do see those mid to upper 80s in the Magic Valley and lots of sunshine. We see the sunshine continue there in places in the Central Mountains, including Sun Valley, Haley, Stanley, and Fairfield, getting into the low 80s for many spots there. Upper 70s, but we'll have some clouds that we'll see later on this afternoon slowly start to build, and that's what we're expecting there across McCall, Donnelly, and Cascade, with temperatures warming up into the low 90s. And that's where we're anticipating some spots in the Treasure Valley to hit the low 90s, including Weiser, Emmett, and other places like Mountain Home that could hit those low 90s, and places like Eagle as well. So that is something we're anticipating for this afternoon. The low 90s are expected here in Boise for tomorrow. We'll see that sunshine continue, some of those clouds make their way through, breezy conditions there for Thursday, and then back down into the low 80s as we've seen before. Then as we get on into the weekend, we start to rise in temperatures. We'll start to see temperatures get back into the mid 90s, and there is a chance, although we're still ways away, that we could see temperatures back into the triple digits there as we head on into Tuesday.
Thanks, Hector. Still ahead, we will check on the big picture. It's not just the heat in the southwest, but we're also keeping an eye on smoke in the northeast, and the tropics are starting to pick up as well. We'll have your national forecast after the break. Welcome back to Weather Out West. We walked you through the rain in the northwest, the extreme heat in the southwest. But active weather is impacting the eastern parts of the United States as well. Wildfires burning in Canada are dragging smoke into the north and northeast. Plus, the tropics are heating up as we head deeper into hurricane season. Here's meteorologist Julie Martin with the national forecast.
Well, on your Tuesday, we're still dealing with a cool wedge of air in the southeast. Places like Atlanta are going to be a good 15 degrees below average once again. Also dealing with some wildfire smoke in the upper Great Lakes and into the northeast from Canada. That's going to make breathing conditions a little bit tough. And we've still got our eye on the tropics, watching a couple of areas for potential development. All right, here's a look at our temperatures. Eastern half of the U.S. looking pretty good. We've got the 80s here around the Great Lakes up into the northeast. Still relatively cool as we head even into the deep south, where we were tracking temperatures around 100 degrees last week. Places like Atlanta only getting up into the mid 70s. So very abnormal temperatures there. We've got at least another couple of days of that as a wedge in places, keeping conditions much cooler. Still hot in Florida though, hot in Denver as well at 99 degrees. We've got the mid 70s to 80 here in the Pacific Northwest, and the heat is on in the desert Southwest with Phoenix topping out at 114. Fire danger still here in the Four Corners region in the Great Basin, where we've got several wildfires still ongoing there, and the weather conditions are still very dry and gusty. Here we've got a few heat advisories heading into New Mexico, Arizona, and Southern California, and we've got that flood watch here into Georgia and portions of eastern Alabama, as a stalled out front is keeping those conditions cool and a bit rainy. Our severe weather threat looks like this: a slight risk here in the Dakotas of some hail, damaging winds, and then just a risk of some thunderstorms here in that lighter green color, really eastern half of the U.S. up into the northeast. These would be more isolated summertime type storms, and heading back into the plains in through the southern plains, maybe a few isolated storms. Our tropical development chances look like this. We have Dexter, tropical storm Dexter here spinning in the Atlantic. That is heading out to sea. No major threats to land other than a few rip currents here along the eastern coastline. This area here has about a 40% chance of development over the next 7 days. And then further off to our east, we have a wave coming off of Africa. The model's showing that this has about a 50% chance of developing over the next week, so we'll keep an eye on that one for you. The western region looks like this. We've got 76 in Seattle, 90 in Sacramento, triple digits there in Phoenix. Into the south, well, Texas still staying hot in the mid-90s. Denver hot as well, near 100 degrees today. In the southeast, we've got way below average temperatures in cities like Charlotte and Atlanta, where we've got the low to mid-70s with some rain. And heading into the northeast, pretty nice summertime weather with the 80s there in play.
Thanks, Julie. And of course, it's only August, early August, and the farther we head into summer, the more those ocean waters are heating up. So we don't typically see our peak hurricanes in the Atlantic until mid-September. Early August, we're still good 5 to 6 weeks away from that. When we come back, how a new first of its kind camera is helping boaters and scientists track where orcas go, even at night. We'll have that story straight ahead. Welcome back to Weather Out West. In western Washington, endangered southern resident killer whales play a huge role in the ecosystem. And Puget Sound waterways have a new tool already making waves and helping monitor the orca population. I took a look at how a new camera is a game changer in helping protect this critically endangered species. We all know the feeling. You're riding a ferry and you hope to see an orca. But as much as we love those close calls, it's not good for the safety of the orcas. New technology just launched here in the Pacific Northwest is helping keep an eye and monitor those orcas to cut down on those close calls. Like any ferry trip, you keep your eyes peeled for orcas. But today,
ladies and gentlemen, if you look up our port side, you will see some deer.
It wasn't what you'd expect.
We just saw deer in the water.
A trip without orcas is a bummer for these riders.
Pastor Cap.
All clear.
But Captain Reed feels differently when he sees one in front of his vessel.
How do I get out of this situation?
To avoid them, he taps into a network that relies on hydrophones that listen underwater.
Here's a couple alerts.
Plus people's reports to pinpoint orca locations. But there's a problem with that.
Once the sun goes down, the alerts pretty much stop.
You'll see the fin, and that's unmistakable.
A new infrared camera is helping fix the issue.
The ocean is in dark because it's much colder. Down at the bottom, you can see the shape of the killer whales.
Gonzalo Bandacruz with nonprofit Quiet Sound says a new infrared camera is the first of its kind on the West Coast and is a game changer for monitoring orcas after the sun has set, and they still need to keep an eye on orca movement.
If they are not communicating, they are not clicking, or they are not singing, nobody will know that they are there.
So without this camera, these orcas would go undetected?
Most likely.
And that means large vessels don't know when to slow down overnight, not necessarily because of worries about hitting the orcas, but they need to slow and quiet their engines.
Helping them have a quiet sound where they can thrive.
Because orcas rely on listening to find and eat salmon, and sound pollution from large vessels can hinder their ability to hunt, knowing where they are day or night can give captains time to slow down.
For us, it's a game changer. It's helping us to just up our game enormously.
For now, they just have that one infrared camera near Port Townsend, but they do hope to add at least a few more into the network to keep an eye on the orca's comings and goings. And don't forget, if you see an orca, you are asked to report it to the Whale Report Alert System. For Environment Northwest, I'm meteorologist Leah Pizzetti. And of course, the West Coast is an amazing place to view many types of whales year round. Let's go through some of those dates and timelines in San Diego. Back whales peak October through November, then gray whales are most common December through April. Blue whales move in shortly after from June through September, so now's a great time to spot them in Southern California. Timing in the Pacific Northwest goes hand in hand. Oregon and Washington coasts watch gray whales head up north to Alaska and pass through the Northwest March through June. Gray whales head south in the winter, but they head back up in the summer and fall to feed, so that is a great time for viewing right now. And of course, the southern resident killer whales, which we just talked about, are active May through October, so now is another great time there. That does it for us here on Weather Out West. I am your host, meteorologist Leah Pizzetti. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great day.